Plunge issue 1, Joe Hill with Stuart Immonen on the art. And this is a take on The Thing with a hint of Alien, with a hint of various other things, and also a lot of dildos. More on that in a minute.
You know, you could have just not said that, and we could have got to it organically, but hey-oh.
Oh, I'm sorry if I spoiled the dildo reveal for you.
Maybe a little bit.
So, you know, obviously there's a lot of Thing comparisons. This ship that's been missing for decades shows up. It's transponders, you know, sending out a signal, and this company wants to send in a group of people to try and collect it. But there's a little bit of trickiness here because it's washed up in Russian waters.
It's in Russian waters, and the government's not exactly given the okay, but they haven't told them not to.
Mm-hmm.
And Russia's dealing with a tsunami response, so they're not going to be exactly looking at this little island chain.
When I said there was a bit of alien in this, what I meant by it is that this company sending them in to recoup their stuff felt very Weyland-Yutani to me, and it felt
they're shady as all get out.
Yeah, and the guy,
I don't buy for a second that the representative.
Oh yeah, this guy is such Paul Reiser in Aliens because he's trying to play it like he's a nice guy, like he actually cares. And I'm
sure we'll get some reference because obviously we've all been going, oh, it's The Thing, and they're very aware of that because of some of the character names. Oh yeah,
Captain Carpenter.
Yeah,
I love it.
And there was a Russell as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, they know what they're doing.
I'm thinking of the eventual, you know, TV show movie. And who do we get to play Captain Carpenter? I was thinking.
Who?
You have Wyatt Russell grow a thick, awesome beard. Because at first I was like, oh, this guy screams Chris Pratt with a beard, right?
I was going to say Tom Hardy, actually.
Or Tom Hardy, like someone like... But then I thought, wait, The Thing? Kurt Russell has a son. Have him grow a beard.
Like, I love this issue, right? And I think the one of the things you can knock against it is because it is very much the first 10 minutes of whatever this great sci-fi horror movie is going to be.
Right now.
Right? Yeah, is that it doesn't really have that much plot advancement in the sense that there's one page at the end, it's like, hey, the horror thing's coming, but other than that, but I appreciate this at the same time though, because I love that it takes the time to introduce like our main diver, you know, the woman, the English woman. We see her, you know, swimming with a shark, and like we've properly introduced her personality and what she's like before she joins the rest of the team. Who we meet the captain and the businessman, the representative. We get all the dildo jokes. There was a couple of the sort of the comic relief, the comic relief crewmen who are making fun of the captain. You know, we get a proper set of characters introduced, and it feels like they get enough time that I'm like, yeah, this is an ensemble cast in a movie. I can totally see this clicking together like
this. And so the crew are all related, right? They're brothers.
Yes.
So there's that going on for
also,
him too.
Looking at Captain Carpenter, by the way, this is Cullen Mitch Gerrits. Just FYI.
Just a little bit. You're right, yeah.
So we get all of these that does a really good stuff on the characters. Like I know exactly who these guys are. Like the captain's a bit gruff, but he has his heart in the right place because he starts talking about like, so they salvage and they specialize in deep water salvage, and that he brought up a case one time. And when they opened it up, tangled body parts came out, and he thought he had found a human trafficking accident.
And you get the impression that he kind of started screaming. He doesn't say that, but the way they kind of ride him on it is, it feels like he reacted badly.
You get the sense of the history, and then they sort of make fun of him because it was just mannequins, right? But he freaked out because he thought it was human beings, and like, so you get a bit, and then the running joke of the dildos is quite good because when the woman comes on board, she's like, hey, I hear you who I should talk to if I'm in the market for some big dicks or something like that, she says. And it's a great way to run the joke forward, and it makes them feel like real people. And on top of that, just from a design point of view, one of the problems that we have in non-superhero books sometimes is that all the characters, if they're all normal looking, sometimes it's really hard to make them distinct. But no, the captain's got the big bushy beard, the representative's got the receding hairline with a thin beard, the glasses,
and his wife is gonna make him wear a life preserver.
Exactly,
the entire time. And when you see him on the boat when it gets started, he is wearing a life preserver the entire time. The
brothers, the comic relief, one's in like a baseball shirt, the other one's got like a puffy orange jacket, and he's got short hair. Like, everyone is very distinct, so there's no mistake. Even though I've not remembered their names yet, other than Captain Carpenter for obvious reasons, like
you know who all of them are. At sight.
visually, I just know who they all are. It's great, and obviously there's a lot of exposition here where he explains the ship and why it's important for them to get it back. That they were doing biological research, those biological freezers on board that might still have specimens that are useful.
Right, so. And in the lead up to this, when we get to the marine biologist, there's the opening scene is there's a guy and his dog on this island, and they walk up on their morning walk and see a whole bunch of giant squids have washed up, like beached themselves on shore before a tsunami, which I'm wondering if this is the tsunami they were talking about, wipes out the dude and his dog.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we jump to the marine biologist, you find out that these little sea dragon type that aren't normally this aggressive are killing each other. And so she wants to see what's going on there before they go. But she, so we don't know what she finds there. But when she finds the body at the end on this island, they look like those little sea dragon
they're
creatures?
A little different. These they've got more of a blue tint to them that I don't think the sea dragons had. I could be wrong.
Yeah, basically what happens is that because they're getting close to where the ship is, there's like a little island, so they decide to spend the night there so they can have like a nice, campfire, kind of have a comfortable night before they get to the hard part of the mission. And again, there's some more character building and sort of friendly sort of banter and flirtation or whatever. And then, of course, the big ending is that when she goes to go for a piss in the woods, she finds this body wearing all orange. I don't know if it's necessarily implying like a prisoner jumpsuit. I may not be, but I noted that it was all orange just for the sake of.
I did assume it was personally.
Yeah,
but it also could be a crew jumpsuit. They were on a science boat. He's also freshly bleeding, so
I wasn't necessarily assuming this.
Something?
Yeah, I wasn't assuming this is someone from the ship they're going to because that ship's been missing for decades. I was kind of assuming this guy was a newer.
Well, missing does not mean they're all dead. Who knows what's been going on?
Because
that's true, but
there's a thing where it says that the old man is now in his 60s, and the son that was on the ship would be in his 40s by now, or in his 50s.
No, it was 60s because the old man, I think,
is in his 80s. Then.
Is in his 80s or whatever. Yeah.
Okay.
So the son on the ship who was captaining the ship or whatever back in the 90s, 80s, whatever it was.
80s.
He was about 30 at the time, but now he's about 60.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they'd put that in without, we're gonna see something. All I know is I love Basketball Heads, but this is the most fun I've had reading a Hill House book because this is prime me. Like this is that there's creature stuff, there's fun characters, the tension's there already. Like if this was a movie, this might be my favorite movie that came out this year.
I love ensembles. I love survival horror stuff. Much like Aliens, it's them going into the aftermath of something and try to discover what went on and what's going on. It's very Resident Evil, the video game. Like these are all elements that I do appreciate and love, and I feel like this is doing that. And obviously, Eminem's art's solid because
Eminem's art's top. Yeah. But yeah, no, everything's clicking. I mean. I think I have found another creative that loves Jaws as much as I do. Like, it's not just Basketball Heads. There's Jaws references all through this book. So I think that's a Joe Hill thing.
Yeah, there's a few references in this actually, because they were talking about doing Quidditch on the moon at one point. I think.
Yeah.
Quidditch.
Yep. But yeah, there's also, and then you think about the husky in the beginning. It made me think of The Thing, right? Like, there's all these things here that I know Tim likes Joe Hill. But see, I feel like I could sit down and talk to Joe Hill not about his own work. I just want to be like, hey, so like Jaws, great, right?
Do you know what this feels like to me? This feels like the comic book equivalent. This is Stranger Things, but for The Thing and movies like that, as opposed to the more teenage fare. Yeah,
this is the 80s, like
horror and sci-fi, like
horror sci-fi combos, And it feels very Carpenter already. Like just
what does separate it from that, it's like Stranger Things is that this is not set in the 80s. This is pretty contemporary, right?
No, it's true, but it's channeling that vibe heavily.
It is. I thought it was interesting actually because I did notice that this is the most contemporary one we've had yet.
And they are referencing things from that time period as well, so it's not,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just I think Stranger Things would still work without that dose of nostalgia. It adds to it.
Yeah.
Whereas this, it doesn't need it. So I get what Pete's saying, but it's there. You could tell that Joe Hill really cares about this type of story, just in the care to each of the characters. Like, I got to the end and I want more right now, but if this is how it's going to be paced, that's perfect. Because we're getting to know the characters. When they start dropping, because we know they will, I'm not going to like that one of the brothers is going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's could be my new favorite. I mean, I think my favorite up until now was Basket Full of Heads, but this might sneak past that. It's even just more my thing. But Hell House has been mostly bearing very good fruit.
Yes.
So yeah.
For me, this has the potential to get up to the favorites in terms of what it's doing, tone, atmosphere, what the type of story is. It absolutely could be. I think for me right now, it suffers in that this is very much the introduction, and that's not bad. I like everything that it does here, but I definitely felt like it wasn't like a really full-rounded issue of this story. It was just like, okay, here's the first part, right? I think this will probably read fantastically in trade, based off of this pacing, and that's again not really a huge problem. It's just reading it monthly. I'm like, okay, I like what I got, but I didn't get enough.
Yeah, Basket and even Dollhouse Family lends itself to the serialization of comics.
Yeah,
this feels like a movie where, like Pete said, this is just the first 10 minutes of the movie.
That I can see that. I mean, assuming the rest of the story is good, and I have no reason to doubt that it would be, but this could easily. I can see this being like a great 2-hour movie.
It's funny. I actually feel this most out of all the Hill House books, it's this and Basketful that fall into that where, okay, this is a 90-minute movie, and Basketful has managed to break itself up a little bit by having something, because okay, this is the theme of this issue.
Yeah.
But I could definitely see these two, the ones written by Hill himself, feeling the most, or the least, episodic. That they have that, and I think that's a little bit of a criticism. Maybe
he comes from books, though.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. He comes from books. I think he could adapt to comics a little better in that regard.
And I know the Lock and Key show's on right now, and I know you guys weren't too big on it, but it makes me want to check out the comic, because if this is what the comics were like,
obviously he's very successful as a comic writer, but as well, it's not like this is his first job. I just feel like he definitely approached this as a novelist, as as if the next chapter's there ready to go, like it would be in his book. Whereas it's not. I've got to wait a month. And some of the other writers in the Hill House have managed to kind of capture that comics feeling better.
Yeah. Well, and that's Sea Dogs too, because every time I flip through, I kind of browse it, and I'm like, this is too. I want to read this.
I still hate that that's in every single book, because we dropped one of them, and it's like, well, now you're screwed if you were enjoying Sea Dogs.
Yeah, I can't really even complain that much about this, though, because ultimately I don't want it to change anything about what it is. I love what it is now, and I don't want it to change to fit this episodic format. Now I just want it to be this what it is for the rest of it, and have this complete story.
It's like when I read The Wake, and The Wake felt very similar, where it felt like a movie, and then when it had the breaks in there. But I feel like Snyder took advantage of the comic format when there's a tone shift through there that really worked with the comics, that if this was a movie or TV show, you're like, what the hell just happened?
I think, say what you want about Snyder, but if you've read The Wake, I think each issue felt like much more distinct than...
Yeah.
Like this, if you place it next to issue 2 in a month's time, aside from that final page of this is clearly the last page, I don't think you'd even really notice.
No. Which reading in trade is going to be great.
In trade, this is going to be a fantastic ride.
Yeah. Which, I mean, let's be honest, most people will read it that way. This is going to have a much longer life after these single issues than it does right now. But I'm happy to be at the forefront. I'm happy to be, telling people to go buy this book, because I think you should support it. Because it's
Imran's
fresh.
Art is gorgeous, but I do particularly want to shout out, I think it's Dave Stewart on the colours. Oh man, they are fantastic, moody and brooding. The blues and the greens. Oh, it's so good.
I love supporting some of these Hill House comics and sort of saying, because these books are not going to sell anything close to the big superhero books, and I love being able to support these and say, no, I want more of this. Give me more good comics.
I put this on my pull list as soon as I got it. I go, make sure I get these, please. I want these physically.
Whoever greenlit these knew that they're not going to sell tons. They'll sell presumably enough to justify their existence. I hope so. I haven't really checked their sales. Don't have no idea where they were kind of racking in, but I think that they've got the long term in mind, where a lot of these will be great bookshelf trades in the future, where they go, hey, every year when it gets to October and they point out, okay, here are some of the horror trades that we want to push this year. They can just throw these, hey, bookstores, stick this on your recommended shelf. It's just easy things to go that, and I think this will give them great longevity, in, over like decades, perhaps.
Yeah. But I love this, Matt. What are you giving Plunge issue 1?
I'm giving this a 9.5.
Oh, baby!
Yeah.
Jesus, no, I'm going to seem negative.
Connor, what are you giving it?
I'm giving it an 8, and I feel like for
an
me,
8's so good, Connor.
No, it is. It's really good. It's like no, this is great. I love the atmosphere. I love what it's setting up, but it's not at the meat of it yet. I expect this to go up over the course of this book. I expect to give this higher.
Connor, your 8 is like an 11 on Matt's scale, so don't.
Yeah. Calm down.
I'm going to give this a straight 9. So, yeah, this is fantastic. I love it.
Exactly what I wanted this book to be.
Yeah, I agree. That's everything I want.